AncientAlbatross here again with the Cypher Unlimited crew -1, sadly. We have me, your lovely Ancient Albatross. We have the fantastic AD or AlphaDean or simply Dean. And Dean, what are we doing here today?
Well, as usual, we're going to talk, we're going to have a good time, we're going to make it do what it do. We do miss our brother in arms, because it's always a good time with Ann around. But we're going to boil it down tonight to, let's talk about putting together some pre-gens, let's talk about the current Kickstarter for the Diamond Throne, and you know what? Let's make it an open session. Everybody ask us whatever you want. It's an Ask Us Anything night as well. So that's how we're going to rock it tonight. We're going to talk about a few things, but if you got suggestions, ideas, whatever, hit us back.
But yeah, so feel free to chit-chat in the chat there, ask us some questions, join along with us as we discuss what we're going to discuss. But yeah, it's a real loose night tonight since we don't have Anthony. Wanted to keep it nice and loose and light. And yeah, we already got our first question. Dean, you want to field that? How do you go about designing an adventure?
Oh, well, you know what? Honestly, adventures for me kind of boil up very organically, or they're inspired by something I see. So the basic thing is, let's take it from the perspective of like me watching a movie. A lot of times I watch a movie, I think the movie is awesome, kind of kick ass, if you will, and it'll make me want to do something. So what I try to do is keep the integrity of the concept and I'll framework it, but then I'll try to open it up because I want people to have their own personal take on it, especially if I'm doing a one shot, which also leads me to making pre-gens. So, it's that type of deal. At least that's my basic approach. I can get more involved if we need to, but I think that should give you kind of an idea.
And I can kind of chime in before I start diving in and messing with my little pre-gen sheet here that you see on the stream. But what normally is like what Dean said, if something sparks an idea, that's really what starts. Is like, hey, that's cool, I want to do something like that, whether it be in a story I'm reading or listening to, or maybe some media, or maybe a video game or something. I might be inspired by something. First, that inspiration has to kick in, regardless of what it is. Then I need to decide how they're going to start. It's usually how I start my things, like, hey, what's the opening scene for their adventure? Like, whether it be at a tavern or meeting with a boss or whatever have you. I guess the biggest start is what's their conflict, right? Then you can go back to where they're starting. I jumped a few steps ahead. I usually like to think of what are they going to end up doing as far as tasks or obstacles or whatever have you. Like, what's my main source of conflict? I think about that first. Then I think about, hey, what's the logical position for them to start at for that conflict to naturally arise for them, or for them to naturally deal with it. Then I go back to the beginning. Hey, what's the starting scene? Then I work on the end scene. And the middle is kind of muddled. Maybe I might have a sentence or two for a scene, but the middle is usually where the players put in the most input as far as an adventure goes. So when it comes to writing a story, quote unquote, and the middle part comes up, I kind of leave that up in the air most of the time. I might have a little basis of an idea of what possible paths they might go, but for the middle part, I like to leave it pretty open.
I'm gonna jump on that a little bit, Al. What you were just saying, and we also got another question already, which is kind of cool. But yeah, that whole idea about the middle being open, I'll definitely leave that, especially if we have players who are really into the character creation process or whatever the case may be. I even ask for character seeds to kind of throw little caveats in the middle in order to make those moments work out, and they really feel, to give them investiture into the adventure itself. So.
Yeah, the characters can definitely, especially if like you said, if the players are really into the characters, if you have those before you even start writing the adventure, you can do some really fun things, depending on how detailed they go with their character backgrounds and whatnot. That can give you plenty of seeds to throw into like a little one shot or even a campaign, or excuse me, especially a campaign, because then it gives you something to work with in the long run. Like, hey, they put something in their background about their father who abandoned them or something 2 sessions later. Now he's part of the story. And again, it really depends on if your players are super big into that kind of character creation. Sometimes, and again, it's not the worst thing in the world, is like they might not have any backstory at all with their characters. And again, some people don't really like doing that. They're more like, hey, I have a personality, I'm gonna role play, and that's fine too. But if you do have those players that give you that information, like, hey, this is my tragic backstory, or hey, this is so and so, you definitely want to use that stuff. It definitely becomes super, super useful to your adventure creation or, exactly. Generation. But yeah, what was the next question here from Malfectious?
Mal wants to know what our process is in character creation. When designing pre-gens, do you make them useful, fun, or a mixture of both? What about backstory or personality?
So you want to start with that, or?
Yeah, I'll start it off. Well, Mal, again, it depends on the adventure. For anybody out there, for me, it depends on the adventure. If I'm making a comical adventure, then yeah, of course, I'm going to throw some comedy, or comical aspects in there. Utilitarian is always important because no matter what the adventure is, you want them to be somewhere competent along the line of, characterization. Um, and for me, backstory is a little bit important. Other people will disagree with me. They like to just leave the character completely open and let the player characters throw something in. But I at least like to throw a sentence or two in order to give the players something to bite onto and let them go from there. If, and if that doesn't work for them, that's the more creative person at the table. That's the person at the table who, really does their thing about, character development and so on and so forth. And those are people who are treasures at the table. Other side of the coin are those people who take what you put on the paper, those one to three sentences, whatever it takes, who take those, embrace it, and make it their own. So that means you already know the seeds that you've planted for background usage as well. So it's really a combination, and it really depends on the adventure as a whole for me.
Yeah, and just to piggyback off that a little bit, if you are the one who's creating the backstory or personality for the pre-gens, it's pretty much not essential, but it helps a ton with the immersion if you use those details in the story as well. Not just for them. I mean, of course, you can put up something, not cosmetic, but something that they can just play around with. But if you insert these concrete, like, facts or things that get included in stories, like, wow, I'm actually part of the story. But to answer the question myself about, designing pre-gens or whatever have you personally, this list here is basically just a random list. Like, I put together, like, literally just random descriptor, foci, and types, just because I think that's fun. Anthony with that question. Sorry, I had to burst out laughing. I lost my train of thought. That was so funny. Yeah, what was I saying? Oh yeah, so this particular set of pre-gens is all randomly put together. In this sort of fashion, I then, once the character sentence is put together, then I look at the abilities, like especially from descriptor and focus, because those don't really change. I put those down first, as you see, as I'm about to do. Then I look at the type to see what I can really make it fun with. Or if I feel like the sentence is leaning hard thematically towards one way, I'll definitely lean towards it with the character creation. Again, this is just talking about this random sentence deal. If I'm doing something more specific, like this is just like general use pre-gens just to have around, right? I just enjoy doing this shit. But if I'm doing a very specific character, like someone told me, hey, I need you to make so and so, right? Or if they say, hey, I want you to make a pre-gen for your game. Make it specifically for your game, right? Then I go kind of like what Dean was saying. Hey, I'm probably going to include a sentence or two about their personality or their backstory. Or usually, I ask the player first, hey, do you want to come with your up with your backstory, or do you want me to do it? Then I can go from there. Usually they'll let me do it, or they'll just say, hey, I'll come up with something on the spot. It's whatever. But when I go making a pre-gen, I usually try to go for fun, like if the character's fun to play, and also as long as it thematically makes sense for the character to be involved in whatever the game is. So like I wouldn't make trying to think of a good example here. Like I would just try to make the pre-gen fit in as much as possible. It wouldn't be some wacky... Like, when wacky characters get involved, it's usually, like, I let the players make their characters and that... And again, I have no problem with, like, wacky, off-the-wall type characters, as long as they can explain why it makes sense in the game. But when I make a pre-gen for a specific game, I try to, like, tie it in as much as I can, like Dean was saying. Like, I'll type in a little, like, maybe a sentence or two backstory about their personality, or, you know, maybe a little piece of tidbit of their history, and try to work it into the one-shot or the story that's being told.
Real quick, Al. Shout outs to Jess. Thank you, Burst of Hope, for being here, and we will definitely answer that question. Jess asks us, do we prefer one shots, mini campaigns, or something long form? Go ahead, start us off, Al.
I mean, y'all already know the answer for that for me. Oh, thank you for the follow, whoever that was. My alerts are not up. I did not catch that. But yeah, thank you for that. And yeah, for me, y'all all know I love one-shots. One-shots are my bread and butter. I am not opposed to playing in like a shorter form campaign, maybe like a mini campaign. I would say maybe 5-6 sessions would be like my sweet spot. But I personally have never done a very long-term campaign. I've never done something that spans a year plus, you know, whatever. 10 sessions plus. Like, I've never really done something like that outside of Anthony running us in 5e. I don't even know how many sessions we did of that even, but we did play that quite a while. But definitely my preference is the one shot, the shorter form campaigns.
And my answer is the opposite end of the spectrum. I have learned to truly and utterly appreciate one shots on a grand scale, because that's what I get to run a lot of. But I am jonesing in the worst way to run a long campaign. You know, I ran a campaign once that lasted over 20 years. I ran another one just before I moved to Arizona in 2010. That particular campaign that ran, I believe, 15 years. It was about 15 years that campaign run, and I had to end it in 2010 when I moved to Arizona. And since I've come home, I haven't had the opportunity to truly start another long campaign. But I'm hoping it all changes with the getting my grubby little paws on the Diamond Throne, Tallest, Godforsaken. I have grand ideas in my mind, so that's me. Mini campaigns, I'm actually doing one now on the server, which is pretty cool. And I've run a few of those. Those are nice. But if I can do a long campaign, that's what I would love.
Yeah, and the next question was, where's the sexy guy from your stream?
Right here? What are you talking about?
I believe 2 of 3 of those guys are here.
Yeah, you know.
But there is one of us missing, yes. Fortunately, he is joining us in the chat there, so be sure to give a nice hello to our comrade in arms, Spigs, Cypher Unlimited. He's in the chat there. Be sure to give him a nice hello. Tell him you know you miss him. I mean, we'll tell him right now we miss you, you know. But yeah, definitely happy to see you in the chat. Yeah. And what's the next question we got up in here? All right, here we go. When designing encounters like traps and puzzles, how many outs do you provide, or do you think on the fly? I've gotten into the habit of providing a might-based, speed-based, and int-based method of getting out of traps and puzzles. Actually, that's a good way to do it. The latter, what you said, that's a good, like, free, like, on the fly way to do, like, give them an out. Like, hey, just roll this, you get past it. Generally, if I come up with a puzzle or something like that, or trap, I don't come up with a solution. I'm gonna be straight up. I don't come up, like, I don't have a solution in mind. Like, if the players come at me, like, I might have, obviously I might have a solution in mind, but it's nothing concrete. If the players come at it with, like, in a certain way that I never thought of, I'm not gonna be like, nope, that's not the way to do it. Like, if they can really figure out a way to do it creatively that I didn't think of, I'm not gonna be like, no, you can't do that. Like, and then, yeah, if the roles fall into place, then they solve the puzzle, the trap, whatever have you. But yeah, on the fly is more of how I had to never have a concrete solution to a puzzle or a trap. Never, almost never.
You know, and it's funny that you even go to that place, Al, because honestly, I had to unlearn habits, you know, because I played Dungeons and Dragons for so long, you know, and they would give you the answer to the trap, how it works. Okay, it's a pressure plate, and you have to figure out the mechanism and blah 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 blah. And I'm with, you know, I'm a Cypher guy these days, and because I play Cypher, that thought process has changed. If players, you know, if I tell them what the trap is, and the players say, "Hey, you know what? I'm gonna try to use my speed to trigger the trap and dodge out of the way beforehand." Okay, it's a level 5 trap. Okay, so we're gonna give you a level 5 difficulty, but you're trained, so on and so forth. Blah blah blah. You know what? Let's drop it down. Give you difficulty 4, and then, you know, vice versa. You know, we have the other player sitting there, and he's like, "Well, you know what? Intellectually speaking, I want to check and find out where the trap goes from here to there." So it's all those same things. It's like, depending on what how the players approach it, is how I'm going to definitely, you know, run with it. And I think it makes for better storytelling. It keeps the story moving. It immerses the characters, because what was the adage that Cypher System came up with? It was, you know, it teaches the GM how to say yes to their players. And that's what we got to learn. We got to learn how to say yes as opposed to no, no, no. You know, I don't like that kind of gaming anymore.
One sec, I muted myself so my clickety clack for my typing doing this pre-gens wouldn't be too loud. Yeah, it's definitely a good way to do it. I don't know. I always like to let not just traps and stuff like that. Like, I never hard code or make anything concrete as far as any of my obstacle resolution goes. Like, whether it be how they interact with an NPC or how they get through a fight. Like, I might have a thing in mind of how I want them to deal with it, but it's always a loose idea. It's never like, if they don't check this box, this box, they're not going to succeed, because exactly. That just doesn't, like, that's not intuitive. Like, because I remember just specifically, right? We were playing 5e with Anthony, and I forget who was with us. It was a decent sized group. It was like 4 or 5 of us. I honestly don't even remember what the solution to this issue was, or even if it had a solution, or I think it ended up being a toilet. But we were doing some puzzle or something, like in some encounter from his campaign. I think he was doing a pre-written campaign, you know, how we do it, you know, he fluffed it up, however. But in this particular room, there was like a big basin or something, and a lever, and when you pulled the lever, some water spilled into it and filled it up, and then another lever emptied it or something, and we spent like an hour trying to figure out this puzzle, or like trying to figure out like what's the importance of this room. And I don't think there was any importance. Like, I don't, I forget if maybe we didn't figure out the right way to trigger that little whatever was hidden there. But I feel like, because I remember distinctly talking about it afterwards, and Anthony being like, "Y'all just didn't interact with it the right way. Is either that, or it was just a toilet and y'all got too invested." I forget what it was. Anthony could chime in. But that was a really funny thing. Whereas, like, if you have a concrete thing set in mind of how they need to interact with this object, it might just straight up not happen. Like,
exactly.
But yeah, I don't remember if it was we were interacting with it wrong or it was just the toilet. It was one of those.
That's hilarious, but it's awesome.
Yeah. And I forget what ended up. I think we just left the room behind and nothing of importance happened. And again, maybe Anthony can chime in with what actually happened, because my memory is absolutely trash. But yeah. Wait, I think we have another question here. If players are having a bit too easy of a time with an encounter, do you add an extra fun to whittle them down? I'll keep adding fuel to others chime in. Yeah, you ask all the questions you want. What do you mean? If they're having too easy of a time, definitely not, because, like, if they're going through things with ease, like, It depends on if it's a good roll thing or if it's a I made things too weak thing. If it's a I made two things too weak, like in terms of as far as I planned my encounters or whatever, my NPCs, creatures, whatever, blah blah blah. If I plan that poorly, then I would try to adjust it on the fly. Like maybe make things a little harder or whatever, throw in another encounter, maybe. But I wouldn't do it unless again, if they're just rolling well, then I definitely wouldn't like increase the fun. Like they're just rolling 19s and 20s. Like if I increase the difficulty or add the fun or whatever, then their bad luck or their good luck goes away. Now what? They're messed up, right? So you really got to keep it in mind if it's the characters that are making the encounters too easy or your story too easy, or if it's their roles that are doing it. And then go forward accordingly.
Well, as far as all of that's concerned, you kind of hit the nail on the head for me. I personally don't care if the players are cakewalking, or if because they got to be having fun. I think that's what the final thing is for me. I mean, I ran a one shot and Anthony rolled horribly through the entire game. It was it was hilarity in the way that he rolled like nothing above a 5. He wasn't succeeding at anything. Last battle of the game, I had this battle I was set up for at least a 30, 45 minute, sequence fight with this guy because he was Captain Beefy. Anthony rolls 520s in a row. I mean, literally, I had never, craziest thing in the world, 520s, bang, 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 back to back, ended this guy. And we just described it out, this epic, it was like the final scene of the movie. The guy comes out, knocks down one character, knocks down the other character, and then here comes Anthony with the blaze of glory, his sword strikes everything. And you're like, okay, and I let it end on that. I let it end on that note, but everybody had a blast. It was a real nice, twist to the whole thing, unexpectedly. But it worked out, and I think those things make the difference when you're running a game. Again, I would look at it this way, and maybe it's maybe you just being Mal in the way you like to talk, Mal, but I don't like things to be adversarial anymore between me and the players. I don't like to use any language that makes it seem that way, because honestly, from the old days, that was the game. It was the DM, dungeon master versus the players. So I just kind of moved myself away from that conceptualization, so no. What's up, Carbon Man 23?
And hey Carb, Eddie, I believe. I could be wrong on the real name.
Oh, and Jess asked another question too.
Don't drag me, please, if I'm wrong. Yeah, the next question was from
Brilliant Loser.
Yeah, that's my buddy Jesus, my dog. He said, "What's the favorite focus you've homebrewed?" I have not homebrewed one, so.
I can't answer that question. Way too many. Everyone that I have done, I have enjoyed immensely. You want to see some of my favorites, though? Hey, type over to Drive-Thru RPG and download Heroic Essentials. There's 10 foci in that book that are all related to superheroics. And anybody who knows me knows I love superheroes. So I made it possible to create classic superhero characters. I mean, there's one focus called Is a Paragon. And that's like, so you can create characters like Thor and Superman and Black Adam and the guys that have these full suites of powers, and it's like they're just off the scale. I love that one. Wield's Cosmic Energy was another one that I enjoyed creating, because not only is it in vein of characters I love, like the Silver Surfer and so on and so forth, but I got to use a little bit of my physics knowledge in order to put this particular thing together. It was like a lot of fun. I went back to my AP physics class in college, and like there's like the black body effect where, it's the concept of an item that's absorbing all the infrared radiation in the room, and while it's absorbing it, they slowly become visible, and then upon getting to the maximum that it can absorb, it shifts over into visibility into the infrared spectrum, and you get to fire off these beams. Just stuff like that, man. It's like creating foci is just fun, and I get like I take a deep dive into it, So that's my answer.
I'm on. Oh, now that I realize, I just said I haven't really. I actually have not fully fleshed out any custom foci, but I have started. With what you call it, Darkest Dungeon. I did make a couple of the characters in Cypher System, and each character had their own focus. I think I just made a focus for each of the. Not each of them. I think I made like 6 or 7 of them. I forget. But I only did tier 1, which is why I can't say I've never fully fleshed out focus. I only made the tier 1 version to do one-shots of the thing. But those I really enjoyed making. It was very fun trying to figure out what was unique to the character in Darkest Dungeon, and then trying to translate that into Cypher System, and then, making it work well. And I think I did it.
Well, I tell you too, Al, the one you told us about that you reskinned for your fantasy group was awesome when you inverted.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
That's miracles.
Yeah, so I could tell that story a little bit. I guess actually we haven't played our home game in like 4 months. So I completely forgot. But we were doing a home game with I'm the GM. I play with my coworkers. It's a fantasy game, typical regular fads. It's a world I made up with them. And the paladin, we have a paladin in our group. He has the focus, works miracles, very paladin-y one, heals people, whatever. Removes poisons, etc. But he kept doing questionable things for his faith, like trying to soapbox where it was inappropriate, like forcing people to try to follow his ways, and like being very, very, very heavy-handed with how he would take transgressions. So eventually I told him out of it. I was like, yo, if you keep doing this stuff, like, it's not going to end well for your, faith, your religion. And I didn't tell him, I'm going to change your focus, I'm going to sever your thing with your God. I didn't tell him anything specific. I just say, if you keep doing that, something's going to happen. So I guess he took that as a cue for me to take things even further. And he just straight up murdered a guard NPC that they were, escorting them to go handle something. And he just straight one guard fell in the trap, died, and the other guard was over the whole oh my god, no, he just kicked him in to take the map from him instead of guiding him along. So I was like, oh shit, he took what I said seriously. He really wanted to go over the edge with his actions. I was all right. So then I role played it out, whatever, oh, you feel like your god's power, his armor lost its shimmer, blah blah blah. So then I basically took Works Miracles and inverted it. So the healing touch was now a damaging, I forget how, draining touch. It heals the guy who heals the paladin now. It's it's like a Dark Knight. Alleviate is now poison. So that was really fun to do. To just say, hey, you messed up, your focus is all gone now. Now we're gonna invert it and make it something different. I'm sure there's abilities that correspond with the changes I made to healing touch or alleviate. We're only tier 2, so those are the only things I did. But it was super fun figuring out, hey, how can I flip this around and rework it to be the opposite of what it is, because he basically fell from grace of a good god and is now falling into the graces of a bad god, or quote unquote evil, whatever, however you want to say it. But yeah, that was super fun to do. Hey, now and Works Miracles became, then what did I say? Manipulates Malice. I thought that was a really cool name to flip it to. So now instead of who works miracles, who manipulates Malice as his focus. That's the invert of Works Miracles.
Yeah, see, great stuff. And we had another question out there. Oh, first of all, thanks, Brilliant Loser, Jesus, right? Thanks for purchasing Heroic Essentials. I'm glad you enjoy it. I enjoy it myself. It was a great time to create that thing. But Jess, Burst of Hope, has asked us again, what MCG setting are you most excited to run or play in? right
That's
now,
a good
for
question.
me, it's a tie between We Are All Mad Here and Tidal Blades.
You want to hit that first, or I was just doing a lot of talking?
Sure. Um, Believe it or not, I haven't dived as deep into We Are All Mad Here as I wanted to. I've only gotten about halfway through the book, and I'm enjoying what I'm reading. I'm not as floored as I was. I don't know why. I mean, because it's a great setting, and I do want to run some stuff. I got some great ideas, I think, but Stay Alive is still like, oh my god, it's like so there. It just it screamed to me, And speaking of screaming to me, it was the catalyst for me writing an entire you know supplement seed book, called The Umber Earth, which is out there on drive through as well. But something about that book just screamed to me. I mean, I remember getting the night I got the PDF, I read the PDF twice in the same night. It was just that book is just like totally there for me. Um, so probably when I finish We Are All Mad Here, it might, be something. But Tidal Blades, I do want to get my hands on, definitely.
Just to echo that a little bit, 100% am very excited to look at Title Blades when that comes out. Or there's no Kickstarter for that yet, right? Is there?
No,
But yeah, super excited for that book. Turtle people, you get to be a turtle. Like I want to be a turtle person. Like, I just got a real big like I don't know what kind of vibe. I forget what. Fuck, I'm blanking on the vibe I got from the art and such. But super nice looking book. But for me, I'm actually super duper excited to play / run Pandemonium Noir. Like I know the Kickstarter got canned due to poor timing or whatever have you, but that, oh my god, the setting is amazing. Like if you guys have not like picked up or have heard about it, like it's Weird Tales presents Pandemonium Noir. It's based on a series called Dead Jack. It's amazing. The first book is Dead Jack and the Pandemonium Device. Just listen, or I'm listening to the audiobook. It was gifted to me by the author, amazing guy James Aquilione. We had him on a couple weeks ago. He's an amazing,
yeah,
awesome guy. And yeah, it's that the setting is like a I don't even know how to put it, like a fantasy noir settings. Like I think I don't even
it's
know what time.
basically what you would consider a pulp noir setting, set in basically a displaced or an allegory to New York City in the 1940s, 1950s. So you got gangsters, hep cats, all of those aspects that made that era really cool. You got the dames in the dresses. You can do it tongue in cheek. You can have, if you want to get into, doing some voices and stuff, you can do the tough gangster guy, and you can, it's just like Al said, it is exciting. I didn't even think about that. I'm pretty stoked to get my hands and run some stuff in there as well.
and and the real, oh yeah, pushback, there we go, thank you for the correction, Spigs, because the Pandemonium Noir is definitely coming back strong, hopefully. Because that, I'm super excited to to get that book in my hands. I think it's already done, written wise done. I believe that's what Alex said. Now it's just more about getting the art, getting the layout, blah blah blah. It's that so much and so forth. But yeah, it's definitely, they're retooling. They're gonna come back stronger, hopefully. And yeah, if when that drops again, be sure to back it. It's such a fun setting. Let me just talk a little bit about like why I'm so excited about it, right? So just in the first like 2 or 3 chapters of the book, you meet like 4 or 5 different supernatural beings. Like you meet the main character, who is Dead Jack. He's like a zombie detective. Like then you meet his partner, which is Oswald, this like homunculus, like small marshmallow thing that can change shape. Then you got the leprechauns, the clericons, which are another subsection of leprechaun, which I had no idea about. Learned about them through that Jack. You also see some, I don't want to say spoilers, but some weird little monster baby that flies out of a jar with like big old wings. Like you see so much in just the first 2 or 3 chapters. Like, and I'm almost near the end of the book now. I think I'm on the last chapter now, but just the stuff that goes on in Pandemonium and all the setting flavor, and it's just such a wonderful, like, I'm so excited to just play it in the setting. and then eventually run the setting. I definitely want to be a Clericon. A Clericon, I think it's I could have been misremembering or something, but it's like the Christmas version of a leprechaun, because he describes them as wearing red and pointed shoes and like. So I want to be a badass Clericon in a game. Nice. But yeah, that's definitely what I'm most excited about right now. As far as what's coming up, yeah.
So,
we can move on to the next question here. So we got Techman asking, have you played or run a setting that is similar to playing a game of Fiasco? Telling a story about ordinary people with powerful ambition and poor impulse control. NPCs or PCs affected being in a Coen's Brothers movie. Okay, I've never played Fiasco, so I can't comment on that. So this will be all you, Dean.
Well, actually, yeah, I've done that because I enjoyed Fiasco. As a matter of fact, the one adventure that I ran based on a movie that I went and saw was called, the movie was called, I believe, Hotel Athena, or Hotel Artemis, and mine was Hotel Athena, whatever it was. But it was basically this circular thing. I had written on every character sheet because I did pre-gens. It was a one shot. I can run it again sometime. But every one of the characters had a hidden agenda. It was set in a semi-futuristic world, maybe 20 years in the future. So there were some advancements and stuff like that. But literally, it was the characters' motivations, and they had to keep their motivations hidden, whatever their thrust for being there was, to bring it to fruition. And anybody who did get it, of course, they were awarded special, I don't remember what I gave them, maybe extra XP or something. It was something along those lines, but it was really pretty cool to see it unfold like that. And yeah, it was, everybody had some grand ambition and they had some grand idea of how to go about getting it, but their impulse control was terrible. So yeah.
And even with the Coen brothers comment, I can't even comment on that. I know they're directors, right? What do they direct? I'm not a movie watcher, so
movies like Fargo, their category. Let me look real quick. Their library is,
I know it's extensive. Yeah, I know they've done it quite a lot, but again, I don't know anything about movies, so it's hard for me to even pick up on what the reference is referencing.
Coen Brothers movies were always there's always consequences. No Country for Old Men, but their thing is very their library is very diverse. No Country for Old Men was one. The Big Lebowski, The Man Who Wasn't There.
They did Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah. Yep.
What?
Yeah, so they have a very extensive, Oh Brother Where Art Thou, Hail Caesar, True Grit, the remake.
I've seen a couple of those movies, but I still really...
Intolerable Cruelty was actually a really good movie. Raising Arizona with Nicolas Cage. That was completely bonkers movie.
That's a big shrug for me because I don't know movies.
Barton Fink was another movie that was big like that. Blood Simple. So these movies all have, no matter what it is going on, there's always some strange consequence for action, or it's just, they're just out there, they're just out there, it's just that type of thing. So yeah, but I've done the best I could in that vein, which again, sometimes I don't think about doing or basing my things inside of the movie trope so much, as opposed to giving the player characters the opportunity to tell their own story.
Exactly. I definitely, when I do things, or when I tell my stories in my games, I definitely try not to. I mean, I obviously, as much as any other GM, will use a trope here or there to fill in whatever happens. but I generally try to let the players dictate the tone and like the direction of the narrative instead of me being like, hey, you're going to take this action, that's going to lead to this action, that's going to lead to this, consequence or whatever. I again, like I said in the beginning of this little talk, I like to leave it open, like free form-ish, let them decide, and then we take it from there. I play off how they're doing things, and so I don't really try to follow the tone of like, I guess like a director or something, like, try to give that cinematic feel in a certain way. It really depends on what the players are doing and how they're approaching the story. Yeah.
And Jess, I agree. Stay Alive is definitely ripe for October.
Yeah, we definitely got to get some horror games going. It's been a while since I've done a horror game, actually.
Well,
no, that's not true. I got someone into Cypher System. I don't think they're watching. It was a Smash buddy of mine who was talking about D&D. I was like, oh shit, you play D&D? Like, let me tell you about Cypher System. Come here for a second. Right. So I was telling him about Cypher System, and he was like, I kind of want to do... I told him I have Darkest Dungeon. Like, I was telling him all these different things I could do. And he said he kind of wanted to do a space game, but a horror game. So I was like, I could kind of mix it. Like, I could do like a Darkest Dungeon in space. It'd be because he wanted that dungeon crawler feel, right? So I was like, yeah, we can do Darkest Dungeon, but he didn't want that dungeon setting. He wanted the space setting. So I just merged the two ideas. Right. So that was a horror game, and it was awesome. Like, he crawled through a dark, derelict spaceship by himself with his NPC pal. I forget. I've already forgotten the guy.
I remember you talking about that.
Yeah, that was super fun. Like, he had a blast. And yeah, like horror is just such a fun genre to play with. I don't do it enough. Like, I definitely should.
Well, I've got like 3 horror one-shots already. And I can either retool those with the Stay Alive stuff, or I might even make something new. I'm not sure. It's just some of those tropes that are in the Stay Alive book that, I want to, like, the 2 that come to mind that I want to do are the bad penny and poor decision making. I want to make, the bad penny is awesome because, you can't get rid of the item. But the poor decision making one is the one I really want to implement and see how players play with that, because, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, in Stay Alive they give you lots of different horror tropes that you can plug into your games, and they have one called poor decision making, and it's literally the dumb stuff you see in horror movies. It's almost like these people have never seen a horror movie a day in their life, so they do the most inane, look, let's go in the garage over there with all the chainsaws.
Or like they'll hear noises in the house, and instead of running out, let's go upstairs. Like,
let's go upstairs instead of running out the front door, getting in the car and driving away. It's always something like that. So I really would love to do something like that.
For me, I definitely want to revisit my the Killer in the Woods, my teen horror, like Cabin in the Woods. It wasn't called. I forget what it was called, but it was
Killer in the Woods, I think.
Yeah, I think I just got to call it Killer in the Woods. Yeah, just kept it nice and simple. But I think a lot of the stuff, because this is way before, still like at the start of Cypher Unlimited that I was running this or trying to play with it. But a lot of the stuff in Stay Alive would be handy for it. Like I'm pretty sure, I forget what it's labeled as in the book, but I'm pretty sure there was a thing for like if players die, they can still interact with the story.
Oh yeah.
That would be awesome for the Killer in the Woods thing, because people, the whole point is if they make a poor choice, they die. But because I know Anthony died pretty early in that game, and having something to have him still be able to do something, or I forget who died early in that game. Someone was okay with dying early and just being a spectator, like just not participating in the story. But I would prefer it if there was a way for the dead players, other than just having a brand new character, still have a way to mess with the story. Or is that I honestly forget the ruling that they have in the book.
I'm looking it up now. I'm going to pull it up and look it up for you.
And then on top of that, there's also like, the poor decision, which would be awesome for teens hanging out in the woods. Like, and yeah, that was a super, super fun game to play. And just as a side note, if any of y'all play it, hopefully forget about this little side note, because I actually have 2 endings for that story, right? One ending is an ending where the killer's, obviously a killer, whatever have you, it ends up being a real guy to have to get away from or kill him, whatever. But I ran it on April Fool's one day, one time, and I ended it like I pushed it as gonna be a horror game. You know, we're gonna whatever. There's gonna be death, blah blah blah, but it ended up being a prank at the end. Like they were on some reality TV shows. Like, oh, you just got goofed. Like, we got you good. Like that was actually part of the canon of the story. That was super fun to play. They're like, what? Like it was like we got pranked. Like
That's pretty cool. That's like actually.
So and the way I like described it to them, right? Because in like the story, you know, they see dead bodies. There's like a dead goat or something at some point. So they're questioning. They're like, but what about the corpse we found? What about the so? It's like no, we found cadavers that looked like so and so. We found a dead goat that we bought off of livestock or something just for this like little stunt. Like I know PETA probably would have been happy with that statement, but yeah, that's how I explained it in like as the host in the story. I was like, oh, we just got cadavers and livestock like.
Yeah.
Oh man, that was a fun
right now, Al. I'm in Stay Alive right now, and where is it? I probably went past it. I think I did, but yeah, they had all the tropes. It's like what's this one? Madness. Oh, I can't find it now. It's crazy when you want it.
But no,
Survivor. It's Last Survivor.
Yeah, that sounds like it. Yeah.
Basically, you have one person, but the other people get to continue to interact with them as like ghosts, or their spirit, can add assets and stuff like that, And if you need an example of a movie where something like that was done, just go back to 1981, 1982, and the movie is called An American Werewolf in London. And basically, all the people this guy kills as werewolves, their ghosts come back and haunt him. So it's pretty cool. Pretty cool concept. That you can actually do that.
Yeah, I definitely want dead players to be able to interact with the story outside of just making a brand new character to introduce. I think having spirits like being like whispers in their ear, like trying to like tell them, like maybe guide them to the right place or something would be cool. Like, or maybe on a successful int roll or something, they can successfully communicate with the spirits or something, and the players can actually like have dialogue with one another or something. They can share that wisdom that they have or something. I don't know, something along those lines.
There's a show. It's the remake of Amazing Stories. An old show used to be by Steven Spielberg. Came on in the '80s. They did a redo on Apple TV or Amazon or something, and they actually had an episode like that. The girl got hit by a car.
Oh boy.
And died, but her best friend. They were on a track team together, and whenever her best friend would run, she could run with her best friend, and her best friend could hear her, because she used to encourage her when they were running, and it's like, run girl, run, and then they could communicate when they ran. It was different. It was pretty cool stuff.
That's definitely a fun way to take it, Malfections. I never thought about doing something like that, where a dead player becomes the killer. Like they, I guess, dictate the actions, or they make the roles. Well. Oh, that's awesome, actually.
Yeah, they've got Stay Alive. They've got Secret. They've got so many little mechanics in there, and that's, I think, why Stay Alive is resonating, because there's so many little plugins. They've got book. Yeah, they've got Secret Twist. They've got the Secret Twist section, and all these things, where the player could end up being the bad guy all along. The player has some connection to the horror, let me see, where's it?
Yeah, those little added mechanics they have in there is just so stellar. Again, I really need to start hitting up my horror genre again for these games, because there's just so much good stuff in that book.
Yeah, see, like for example, Secret Twist, and these are cards that they literally give you that you can pass out to the players. So they got one that says, "Don't let anyone see the card. You're actually the killer. You have been the whole time." Or maybe there's more than one killer. Then they've got another one. Don't let anyone see the card. You're a doppelganger. Your doppelganger has switched places, which you are now playing a doppelganger who is pretending to be your original character. A
lot of fun stuff.
Yeah, there's just so many little plugins. What is this? Yeah, you're actually allied with the bad guys. I mean, it's like, oh, you can even do the sixth sense if you wanted to. You actually realize you're a ghost. You know, you died, and the strange things you're experiencing are echoes from the living world. You know, so you could do so many things, and this is stuff. Like I said, stay alive is such the toolkit. I mean, I'm excited for stuff that's coming out. You know, I want my get my hands on title blades. I want to run some. We are all mad here.
Pandemonium Noir.
I'm looking for Tallest. I'm looking for Godforsaken because I do want to run a mega fantasy campaign. I really, 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 really do. But Stay Alive right now is just resonating on such a. It's just every time I think about it, it's like, man, I could pick this book up in 5 minutes. I could be running an adventure and never even prepped anything.
Yeah,
so.
it's awesome. But I think we're coming to the end of our little talk here, Dean. Unless there's anything else you wanted to really talk about here. We have any more questions?
Real quick, we said we were going to talk. Just so everybody knows, I don't know if you know it yet. What page is that on AD? I have not yet finished reading my book. The secret twists are at the end of the book. They're on little cards that you can print up if you have the PDF. They're already sectioned out as cards, malfunctions. So look on like page 221, I believe, and you can see all the little cards. But they do have a section in the book where they talk about secret twists as well.
We wanted to touch on
say a little bit about the Kickstarter that's going on right now. If you don't know yet, I can't really talk about my direct involvement, but I can tell everybody out there in the world, I've been put on a design team as a writer, so I'm pretty stoked about that. The Diamond Throne is a awesome
Let me get
setting.
the link for it real fast.
I loved the setting for 3 when it was for 3.0, and I think it's going to be a great addition to the fantasy settings for Cypher and everything else. Yeah, you guys are in for a treat. It's a very rich, well thought out world, but it's open enough that you'll be able to put your own stamp on it, very much like Numenera. Monty Cook has a talent for that, I believe, building expansive worlds, rich worlds, but yet still very open. What's going on, Gonza? Yes.
Oh, hey.
And speaking of that, Gonza Gaming is also a member of the design team now. So, and he's writing the Secret Vault adventure, which is the third part in a trilogy of adventures for Cypher System for the Diamond Throne. People, if you're not a part of this thing, get in there, get on it. It's not just because I'm working on it or anything else. It's already funded. It's going to do what it's due. It's going to be out there. But I'm just saying, be a part of it because you won't regret it as a Cypher System player. You really, really won't.
Yeah, most definitely. It looks really exciting. I'm loving the art so far that I've seen. And again, the cover looks like if you can look on the stream here, I'm like scrolling through the Kickstarter briefly. All the stuff looks amazing. Like, look, you got these beautiful XP cards, dice. Oh shit, those dice actually look super nice. What the fuck? I didn't see them.
Well, so everybody won't be doing it. Only the people who pledged within the first 24 hours.
Oh, that's only 24 hours. Oh, okay, I see. Early bird 24
hours. 24 hours.
Gotcha, damn.
The Throne Advisor or the Throne Regent are the people who are going to get those dice. They may put them up for sale as an add-on.
I hope so.
But the fact that you're going to get 2 books, the books have already been expanded in page count. The fact that you're going to get a 3-part adventure, the fact that there's going to be maps, there's going to be, it's just expanding.
I see here Secret Vaults by Christopher Robin Negley. I'm sorry, I don't know how to say your last name. I'm so sorry.
Neckline.
There you go. Our good friend Von Ether in the chat. Yeah, he's I guess one of the he's making a book here, supplement here, 64 pages. So look forward to that.
So
I'm just laughing at how I said his name.
I know you like it's Neckline. You gotta say it like you're a twisted German. Neckline.
All right. Christopher Robin Neckline.
So I mean, like I said, like I said, we're coming to the end here. Unless anybody else wants to ask us anything or any other ideas, we didn't get to go over any pre-gen generation, but you know, we did answer some questions about it. Thanks to Mal for asking us questions.
I did do a little pre-gen in the background. I made one character, the skeptical warrior who interprets the lie. Fleshed that guy out real fast while we were talking, but
Nice.
just the one. And
Well, we'll tell us. Tell us about it real quick, Al.
oh no, it's again. All right, yeah. So again, this is how I randomly made my. This whole list here is just random sentences. Basically, I just put a descriptor, a type, and a focus all together, and I said, let's see what happens, right? So this one was a skeptical warrior who interprets the law. Pretty straightforward, right? So skeptical made him good at identifying and seeing through ruses. Interprets the law made him better at seeing through ruses, which is why he specialized. And I think interprets the law also gave him persuasion and deception. So he's already leaning real hard towards that gumshoe, right? Type character. So it's like, with his warrior stuff, I'm just gonna make him more into that, right? So we got Bash to keep a perp in place. We have Overwatch, because in case he has to watch an area, very PI. What was the other thing I gave him? Control the field again, because you want to have your perp where you want him or whatever. Maybe get innocent person out of the way or something. And then stealth skills again, because it made sense for instead of going with the warrior stuff, I gave him the stealth flavor because he's a PI. So I gave him disguise, because he might need a disguise someplace. Very undercover PI, and also stealth, so he can do his business in his piece.
Right.
So as I create these characters, I basically use the scripter and the foci as like a basis for like the kind of character they are. Then I use the type abilities to kind of flesh out the idea. That's how I do these random sentence characters.
And see that same random sentence. If I had touched it, the thought process that went through my head was, you know what? Okay, this guy's a cop. Perhaps he is a forensics cop. So I would have probably taken a couple of skills out of the knowledge flavor and added them in, gave him a couple of knowledge skills in order to flesh him out and turn him more into, this intellectual guy who, figures stuff out. So I'm thinking like CSI or, one of those type shows, where you can, again, the beauty of Cypher system, the type and a focus and a descriptor does not wholly just lock you into a single path. Where we could have had two characters, if we came to the table that day and both of us had made the character with the same sentence, ironically, but there would have been two different characters. There would have been two entirely different characters. You'd have the forensics guy, of course they're both intellectually, driven. But when it comes to a fight or whatever the case may be, well, guess what? They're not slouches. They know what they're capable of. My guy would have been like, well, I went to Quantico. I'm an FBI agent. And Al's like, well, I'm a private investigator. I was in the Army. I worked for JAG or whatever. All of that stuff. This is the kind of stuff that Cypher allows. This is the flexibility that Cypher allows. And I'll say this as well. This is also a way to look at when you want to kind of customize your types. If you need to customize a type, just like, so when you start adding those flavors, those flavor pieces in, guess what? Just make that the type. And now you have a new type. You have a private investigator. You have, a forensics cop, and so on and so forth. It's just what we do, and it's what you do as GMs and players out there. And the biggest thing is just have a conversation.
The way you were describing it, I made it like the first things that came to mind was like you're crafting him like Dick, not like you're crafting him like Sherlock Holmes. I'm crafting it like Dick Tracy, like it's more of an investigative versus like the hard boiled, like I don't know I guess hard boiled is the word, like rough around the edges.
Yeah,
like,
Sherlock Holmes was definitely,
he had his little combat prowess, right?
Yeah, he was
but that wasn't like his like deal though. Like for me, the way I came about it, the combat prowess sort of is not like part of his deal.
His lethal weapon was his mind.
Yeah.
What he could do with his hands was just, a little bit of was swagger ragged, So anything else, Al?
No, I think this was a fantastic little talk, little impromptu, light session we had here talking about stuff. Hopefully, we can do this more often. It was actually really fun. Maybe get Anthony in on it next time.
Absolutely.
Um, and if y'all enjoyed it, be sure to let us know. Like, if you want to see stuff more like this, just drop us a message on Discord. Maybe we even have a what is it like? We had that community day where we had people all maybe we'll do something similar with just one person, and they'll
Right.
join us for this little kind
Or
of impromptu discussion.
next time maybe we'll be able to let people know early in advance, and you can put together a list of questions. We'll have them here ready to go to answer, as well as doing some live. The only other thing is, you see the shirt, Cypher Unlimited. We got a gear shop these days, so if you want to, pick up something, kind of support us in any kind of way. Again, our videos are always going to be free. We never going to charge anything for that. But if you like what we do and you decide you want to support us in some way, we do have a swag store. We also have a Kofi coffee, however you pronounce that. We have a YouTube channel. All of our videos are going to go up on YouTube, by 10 o'clock tomorrow, and there for your enjoyment. Like, share, subscribe. That's a huge thing. Hit that notification bell so you know when we got new videos coming out. And yeah, we really appreciate it, guys. But get you some sexy Cypher Unlimited gear. We come in all colors, sizes.
And
It's a thing.
just for my little sign off here, to piggyback a little bit on that, we are going to be adding some stuff to the merch store soon, hopefully. Some pride designs, stuff like that. Just different colors, basically, on the same designs, but just to get some variety out there. Yeah, we already have masks, but again, the designs are already going to go on the mask. Like, all the new designs will be available on the current products, like, the shirts, masks, cups, blah, blah, blah. But the main thing is hopefully we'll have a couple new colors and color schemes in there soon. And I feel like I had something else to say. I guess not. Must not have been important if I forgot. Oh, yeah, no. This is important. So we're in the process of getting our affiliate status for Twitch pushed through. It takes a while for them to look at the application or whatever. So once we are affiliates, be sure to, we'll love if you subscribe when that happens. It will help us a lot with our small,
Metrics and
yeah, metrics. It'll help with our payments that we have to make for things like Zoom and whatnot. So yeah, if you find it in your highness of your heart to subscribe once we're affiliates, that'd be fantastic. But again, not necessary. We don't require any monetary support. We'll love it if you just follow the channel and just keep showing up to the streams, because that'd be awesome. But yeah, just look forward to seeing that bit chip thing soon, and our affiliate status soon. That is coming, hopefully. Any last words?
We love you guys. See you on the next one.
Yep. This has been a blast, and thank you all so much for stopping by. And from us at the CU, we will see you later.